Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing a video that is going to be tier ranking every single book that I read in the year of 2022. And in the year of 2022, I've read more books than I've ever read in my entire life. I read 233 books in the year of 2022. And in today's video, I'm going to be tier ranking all of those books. If you are wondering, 42 of those 233 books were manga. And so I am going to be tier ranking the manga that I read this year as well. However, I will not be ranking all of the individual mangas in this series, if that makes sense. Like, say, for example, Spy Family. I read 8 volumes of Spy Family, but I'm only going to be ranking Spy Family as a whole, if that makes sense. If you're new to my channel, you might not know, but I have done these tier ranking every book that I've read in a year in the past, so I'll have those linked down below. And I also decided to mix it up this year because in the past, I've done videos like this where I rank the books using Taylor Swift lyrics, which has always been the most fun thing for me. And this year, with Midnights coming out in the year of 2022, it only felt right that I would tier rank all of these books using song lyrics from the album Midnights. So all of my tiers are different song lyrics from the album, and I'm so obsessed with these tier names. You guys have no idea. Okay, so let's take a look at the names, shall we? I have 7 different tiers. My top tier is going to be That's a Real Fucking Legacy, and this is, you know, lyrics from the song Maroon. I feel like these are gonna be the top of the top for me. Like, I don't want to put more than maybe 10 to 15 books in this top category. These are the books that's a real fucking legacy. Like, this book is gonna stay on my mind for years to come. And then my second tier is going to be Ask Me Why So Many Fade But I'm Still Here. And this is also going to be my top of the top, you know. This is going to be the 5-star books, maybe some 4 stars, but they were just so freaking good. Other books fade from my mind, but these ones are still so strong in my mind. And these lyrics are from Karma, which is one of my favorites on Midnights. And then the next tier is going to be I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, which is from Bejeweled, which is another fave on the album. But this is going to be for my 4-star books, you know, they're not all-time new favorites, but they can still make the place shimmer, you know, they're still solid reads, books I would highly recommend, books I had a great time reading. The next tier is going to be Would've, Could've, Should've, and this is for my 3-star reads, you know. This is for the books that I would've loved, could've loved, should've loved, but didn't, and I thought that they were just alright. These are the mediocre books, these are the books, I mean, some 3 stars were pretty good, but they would've, could've, and should've been higher, or you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm trying to say. And Would've, Could've, Should've is one of my favorite songs on this album. I think the song is so beautiful and so stunning. And once I clicked, because I had the hardest time with this kind of 3-star tier, I was like, what am I gonna call the 3-star tier? And when I finally thought of Would've, Could've, Should've, I was like, oh my god, duh, that fits so freaking perfectly. And then my next tier is going to be It's Me, Hi, I'm the Problem, It's Me, which is from Antihero. And this is going to be for the books that, you know, again, these were 2 to 3-star books that were just not for me. And I can acknowledge that, you know, these were probably decent books, they just were not my personal cup of tea. And then the next tier is going to be I Could Still Say I Don't Remember, just from Bejeweled. Bejeweled just has so many great one-liners, you know, but these are for the books that I literally don't remember very well. These are the 2 stars, you know, maybe even some 3 stars that were just super forgettable for me. I feel you know, when you read over 200 books in a year, there are some books where I'm wait a second, I read that this year, they just do not stick in my mind at all. There are some books that really stay on my mind and then some books that don't. And so I think this will be the perfect tier to put those books that are just super forgettable for me. And then my bottom tier is going to be Get It Off My Desk, which is from Lavender Haze. Get it off my desk. It's one of my favorite lyrics, and I just think this lyric is so sassy and just so funny. This is gonna be for my worst books that I read this year. This is for the 1 stars. This is for the books that I'm get it off my fucking desk, you know, get it off my bookshelf. And so I'm really happy with these 7 tiers. Oh my god, I was going back and forth on what I wanted to call these because there are so many lyrics on Midnights that would be perfect for tiers. So I might do this again in the future with tier ranking other things and mix it up because I love finding lyrics that fit the tiers. It's just so much fun. But anyways, let's proceed with these 7 tiers because we have so many books to get through. All right, so all of these books, by the way, are going to be in no particular order. I just randomly saved them as photos, and you know, there's a whole mix in here. So first book is going to be Wild, and honestly, we're going to start off with That's a Real Fucking Legacy with Wild. Because Wild is a book that I feel kind of changed my life in a small way. You know, Wild just really inspired me, so it's gotta be top tier. And then we have Lightning by Dean Koontz. Honestly, I could still say I don't remember. This book left absolutely no impression on me whatsoever. Oh my gosh, okay, Pen Pal's next already. I know I said I'm only gonna put like 10 to 15 in here, but Pen Pal was so good. One of my favorite horror books that I read this year, and it was in my top 10 books of the year. The Shuddering, oh my god, this is another one. Ugh. This was also in my top 15 of the year, so I feel like I have to put it, and that's a real fucking legacy. I kind of want to put it in this one, but I feel like because it made my top 15 of the year, it's definitely got to go in. That's a real fucking legacy, okay? Uzumaki, I would say I could still make the whole place shimmer. It wasn't like a new all-time favorite, but this was actually the first, or one of the first mangas that I've ever read. And this book was just so interesting. It was so good. I feel like the second half of the book, though, definitely wasn't as strong for me as the first half, but still so creepy, so gross. Battle Royale, okay. I know you're like, bitch, why are you putting so many goddamn books on the top tier already? But like all of my favorites are already popping up. Okay, Battle Royale, that's a real fucking legacy. Battle Royale is one of the best books ever written, okay? The Ritual, oh my gosh, I can still say I don't remember. I honestly barely remember anything about this, and I just read it in October, so that's just sad. Girl in 6E, I would say it's me. I'm the problem is me, because I know that there are so many of my friends that love this book. I just personally thought it was fine, and I know that it's just not for me, you know? Okay, The Butcher by Jennifer Hillier. I would say Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here, because this is one of my favorite books from Jennifer Hillier. It's not like my top favorite. I think Jar of Hearts is still like my #1 favorite from her, but The Butcher was so freaking good. It was so surprising. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. And then this is another Junji Ito. I think it's pronounced Go. I would put that one in the same tier as his other book, you know? I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. It's really interesting. I feel like Junji Ito always has like the most unique, creepy, and creative ideas, but then he doesn't always know how to end his books, is what I find, because I always find the ending to be a little bit lackluster. Next up is Where They Found Her. I don't even remember what I rated this book. I think I gave it 3 to 4 stars, but I'm just gonna put it in would've, could've, should've, because I feel like this book had so much potential to be a new favorite, and it just wasn't, you know? It was just fine. The Ballad of Black Tom, I feel like I'm also gonna put this one in would've, could've, should've, because this is another one that I feel similarly to, where it was just okay, and I feel like I just wanted a little bit more from this story. Paper Girls, oh my gosh, I'm gonna put Paper Girls and Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm still here because Paper Girls, also, by the way, I did read all of the Paper Girls volumes this year, but I only included one volume to like represent the whole series, you know? But Paper Girls was so much fun. It was such a great summer, you know, graphic novel series for me to get into. It's like sci-fi, it's very Stranger Things vibes. Oh my gosh, it's just such a great time. And then The Devil Crept In, I'm gonna say it's me, I'm the problem, because I can see why so many people are loving this book. I just wasn't a huge fan of the second half and like the direction that this book ended up going in. It was just alright. And then Spine Shivers, ooh. This one, I'm gonna put this one in would've, could've, should've. I mean, to be fair, this one is more of like a middle grade novel, which is not usually my cup of tea, so I think it could have been something that I would have loved, I think, but it just wasn't for me, really. The Butterfly Garden, I think I'm gonna put The Butterfly Garden in would've, could've, should've. It's not like a top favorite from me, and it's not super memorable for me either, even though I just read it this summer, but I think it did have a lot of potential to be a new favorite, but it wasn't. And then Dissolving Classroom, this is probably one of my least favorite Junji Itos that I've read so far, so I think I'm gonna put it in that same category because it's not quite as good as these other two Junji Itos. It's like a little bit below that for me. And then The Haunting of Ashburn House, this is gonna be the first get it off my desk. This was a book troop pick in the month of May, and I just did not enjoy this book. I think I gave it 1 or 2 stars. It just was not a fun time for me. Fever Dream, I'm gonna put this one in I can still say I don't remember because this book was so confusing and now I barely remember anything about it. I read it in like July. And then we have Penance, which this one I'm gonna put it in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer because this one was really interesting. This is the same author as Confessions and I feel like I really enjoyed this one as well. It's a thriller by this author who is so incredible at writing plot twists. Like what the heck? Oh my gosh. Okay, then this next one is the Mindfuck series, which again, I did read all 5 books in the Mindfuck series, but I only included 1 book on this list to like represent all of them. And I'm gonna put this whole series in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer because even though the first 2 books in this series are not very strong, the last few books in this series were so intense and so fun. So I feel like just for those reasons, I have to put it in like that category, right? Like I feel like I have to. Okay, the next one is the Your Name manga. This is volume 1. This is one that I just recently read. I'm gonna put this in Ask Me Why Somebody Fade, but I'm still here because this was so fucking good. It wasn't quite like the top tier for me, but it was still so good. It's based off of the anime movie, Your Name, if you're at all familiar with that, and I did not know that there's a manga that's based off the anime, and it was fucking stunning. The next one is Shiver by Junji Ito, which this is the first manga that I ever read that got me hooked into manga, and this one's a collection of short stories. I think I'm gonna put this in the same that I put those other Junji Itos, is that I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. There were some short stories in this collection that worked so well for me, and then there were some that I thought were just okay. Oh my gosh, okay, this next one is, I think it's What Do They Do When I'm Gone? It's like some kind of nonfiction graphic novel that I got from the library. I'm honestly gonna put it in, I don't remember. Obviously, I don't even remember what it was called. I know it's like What You're Gonna Do When I'm Gone or something like that. It's about a mom and a daughter and their relationship, and it's sad, but I just don't remember it very well. And then the next book is Educated. I'm gonna put this in It's Me, I'm the Problem, because I can totally see why other people are absolutely loving this book, and I still think I gave it like 3 or maybe even 4 stars when I read it back in January, but I feel like there's some nonfiction books that just don't really do a whole lot for me, and I feel like this is one of those books. The next book is Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter. This is gonna be another Get It Off My Desk. This is another one of my worst books that I read this year, mainly because the protagonist drives me crazy. And then we also have Best Day Ever. This is another Get It Off My Desk because this book also drove me absolutely crazy. And then we have The Good Son, which I would put this in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. This one was a really entertaining thriller. It definitely reminded me so much of You by Caroline Kepnes. It was just a really good time. And then, oh my gosh, Foe by Ian Reid. That's gonna go on Ask Me Why Somebody Fade, but I'm still here because it's not quite as top tier as the other Ian Reid that I read this year. But oh my god, Foe is just so special. It's so unique. And then we have The Six. I'm gonna put this one in Would've, Could've, Should've. I feel like this one had so much potential. This is a very similar premise to like Squid Game, and it definitely could have been as cool and fun as Squid Game, but it just wasn't. It just wasn't as fun as I was hoping it would be. It was like a 3-star book. And then we have Sawkill Girls, which I'm also gonna put in that same category because I feel like Sawkill Girls is another one that had so much potential for me, and then I ended up feeling pretty meh by the end of the story. The next one is The Body by Stephen King. I'm gonna put this in I'm the Problem because clearly everybody seems to really freaking love this book, and I was just so bored to tears reading this, so I think I'm the problem. I don't know, I don't really get the hype with this one, and I feel like it's more of a me thing at this point. And then we have Moon of the Crusted Snow. I want to put this in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm still here because I read this back in January this year, and I'm still thinking about this book, and I think it's so interesting. It's very like apocalyptic, it's very quiet horror, but it was so interesting. And then also I'm Afraid of Men. This is a nonfiction book that I think I'm gonna put it in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer because it wasn't as top tier to me as some of these other books in this category, but this was still such a powerful and short nonfiction book. And then we have When the Sky Fell on Splendor, and I want to put this in Would've, Could've, Should've because I feel like this book was pretty mediocre for me. I wanted to love it a lot more than I did. And then we have The Perfect Child. This is definitely going in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm still here because The Perfect Child is exceptional. It's really good. And then we have Heartstopper. I think this is volume 3. Yeah, this is volume 3, not volume 4. I think I did include both of them in here, but volume 3 is probably my favorite out of the Heartstoppers that I've read so far, so I've got to put it in that same tier there. Pretty as a Picture is one that honestly I barely even remember, even though I just read it somewhat recently in the fall time, but this is one that it's a thriller that takes place on the set of a horror movie. I barely remember it. One of the good ones is such a great story. I'm gonna put this one in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. This one is honestly very comparable to The Hate U Give, and I feel like this one deserves a lot more hype. And then we have True Crime. I'm gonna put this in It's Me, I'm the Problem because I feel like I'm seeing so many friends loving this book, and I just wish that I loved it the same way that my friends seem to. I just thought this book was okay. 7 Years of Darkness is one that I struggle to remember. This is actually the same author as The Good Son, and The Good Son I just thought was so much more enjoyable than 7 Years of Darkness. And then we have Sweat and Soap Volume 1, which is one of my favorite mangas that I think I've read ever. So I gotta put this in That's a Real Fucking Legacy, because after I read this first volume of Sweat and Soap, I literally bought the next 10 volumes off of Right Stuff Anime, like instantly. And like, when the fuck have I ever done that with like manga? Like, I instantly bought the rest of the series. I had to read them immediately, and I'm just kind of obsessed. Like, I love this couple so much. And then we have There Are Things I Can't Tell You. This is another male-male romance manga that I just recently recently read that I really enjoyed. I'm gonna put this one in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. It was so beautiful. And then we have Cirque Berserk. I think I'm gonna put this one in Ask Me Why So Many Fade But I'm Still Here, because this was a slasher that I was not expecting to love as much as I did. And then we have Take It Back. I'm gonna put this one in It's Me, I'm the Problem, because I've started to realize this year that I don't really love stories or thrillers that primarily focus on sexual assault against women, and like that's the main thing happening in the story. And it was just such a tough read, and I feel like I can totally understand why other people are loving this. It just wasn't my favorite. And then we have Blue Flag, which overall I think I'm gonna put it in Would've, Could've, Should've. I feel like I really loved some volumes of Blue Flag, and then towards the end I just wasn't a huge fan of like the last 2 volumes. But overall this series, like, it had so much potential to be a new all-time favorite of mine, and there were some that I really did love. Like, overall I still totally recommend the series as a whole. It was just a little bit disappointing for me in the end. And then we have Lakewood, which I would also put this in Would've, Could've, Should've. I feel like Lakewood had such a strong premise, but the execution of the book just wasn't my favorite. And then we have Dear Laura. This is definitely Get It Off My Desk. This is like the worst book that I read this year, so definitely bottom tier here. And then we have Blood on the Tracks. This is a series that I'm currently really obsessed with. I'm gonna put this in Ask Me Why So Many Fade But I'm Still Here, because I just love Blood on the Tracks. I think it's so good. If you're a fan of Bates Motel, I think you should check out this manga series because it's so creepy and so good. And then we have The Roughest Draft. I think I would also put that in, you know, I'm Still Here, because I loved this romance so much, and I keep seeing so many people like not enjoying it that much, but I personally thought it was so great. Like, their romantic chemistry was just so good. The Weight of Blood, I think I'm gonna put this one in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. Really enjoyed The Weight of Blood. It's like a Carrie retelling. I thought it was really dark, really fun. Every Last Secret by A.R. Torre. I think I'm gonna put this one and Get It Off My Desk. It wasn't quite like one of my worst of the year, but honestly, like, I can barely even remember the fact that I read it this year, and I just remember really not liking it, so it's gotta go there. Gone to See the Riverman. I'm gonna put this one in I'm Still Here, because this one was what the fuck. This is an extreme horror book, and it was very intense and unlike anything that I've ever read before. And then We Were Dreamers by Simu. This is a nonfiction memoir that I really enjoyed. I think I'm gonna put it in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. It was just such a moving, beautiful memoir, and I just love, you know, I love Simu so much. And then we have Spy Family. This is for, you know, once again, I read all 8 volumes of Spy Family this year, but I only put the one in here to represent all of them. And I think I've got to put Spy Family and Ask Me Why So Many Fade But I'm Still Here, because Spy Family is just so good. Like, Spy Family is that go-to manga that I want to recommend to everyone just because it's so fun. And their little family and Spy Family is the cutest thing ever. Like, I just love them all so much. You've Reached Sam is definitely a it's me problem, you know, like, I'm the problem, because everybody else seems to really love this book. I just didn't get as emotionally invested in this story as I wanted to, and I recognize that it's probably me, you know, I'm the problem. And then we have You Have a Match. I think I'm gonna put this one in Would've, Could've, Should've. It really could have been a new favorite of mine, but I just did not connect with these characters at all. And then I have Made in Korea. I think I'm gonna put this one in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, because it was such a cute time for a young adult novel. I really enjoyed it. And then we have Orange Volume 1, which is probably one of my most recent reads on this whole list, and it's gotta go to the top. Like, that's a real fucking legacy. Like, I am so upset that I read this book right after filming my best books of the year, because this shit was top tier. This is probably my favorite manga that I've ever read so far, and it's like a sci-fi romance about this girl in high school. It's just absolutely fucking incredible. And then we have Monster Volume 1, which this is also a manga series that I've been reading throughout the year. I think I'm on volume 7 or 8 at this point. And I think I'm gonna put this one and Ask Me Why So Many Fade But I'm Still Here, because Monster is just so fucking good. You know, Monster really is that bitch. And then I have Weather Girl. I think, I kind of want to put it in, I could still say I don't remember, because I'm having a fucking hard time even recalling this book right now, but I think I'm gonna put it in Would've, Could've, Should've, because I don't think I loved this one as much as the X-Talk. But, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I do think I gave this one 4 stars. I just don't really remember it very well. Like, even trying to recall, like, this plot right now, like, I have no idea. And then Crossroads, I think I'm gonna put this in I'm Still Here, because Crossroads is a horror novella that was just so touching, so beautiful, such a great story. Just like Mother, I think I'm also gonna put this one in, I'm gonna put this one in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. I had such a fun time with this horror book. I thought it was really creepy, really effective. The End of Men, I think I'm also gonna put in that category because I really liked The End of Men. This one's like a sci-fi book. It's one of the only sci-fis that I read this year, but I really loved it. I thought it was so unique. The Ones We're Meant to Find, I'm gonna put this in Would've, Could've, Should've because I feel like this one did have so much potential to be another favorite, and this was another sci-fi that I read this year. It's like a young adult, and I feel like there were some things about this book that I loved, and then there were some things that I just thought were fine, you know? This next one is Feelings. This one, it's like a non-fiction graphic novel that I got from the library, and it's about like your feelings, and it was so beautiful. It was drawn so well. I think I'm gonna put it in that same tier. And then The Spanish Love Deception, I think I'm also gonna put that in that tier because I really enjoyed The Spanish Love Deception. I feel like it is a little bit overhyped and it wasn't as great as I was hoping it would be, but it was still like a really fun time, really enjoyable. And then we have I'm Waiting for You and Other Stories. I feel like I'm gonna put this one in It's Me, I'm the Problem because this is a short story collection that has 3 stories in it, and I absolutely loved the first and the last one, but then the middle one was a little bit more fantasy than I was anticipating, and I could barely even get through that middle story. Like, it was just so freaking boring. And then we have XOXO, and I feel like, oh man, I feel like I'm gonna put this one in Ask Me Why So Many Fade But I'm Still Here because this is one of my favorite young adult romances that I've ever read, and it takes place in South Korea, and it's just so fucking cute. And then we have Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I feel like this is gonna go in Would've, Could've, Should've for me. I feel like this is a female-female romance that I should have loved, but I just thought it was fine. We have Crying in H Mart, which this one is still gonna go in I'm Still Here because this is a memoir that was just so goddamn beautiful. Like, definitely one of my favorite memoirs and nonfiction books that I read this year. All right, and then I have Dark Roads by Chevy Stevens. I'm gonna put this in I Don't Remember because I barely even remember that I read this book in January this year. It's a thriller. I just remember that it read super young adult. It felt like a young adult book, but it wasn't. And then I have Tokyo Ever After. I feel like I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. This was really cute. It was very comparable to like The Princess Diaries. And then we have Somebody's Daughter by Ashley C. Ford. This is another memoir that I absolutely loved that I read this year. Very comparable for me to Crying in H Mart. I feel like both of these memoirs are just so freaking solid and so good. And then we have The Cartographers. I want to put it in I Don't Remember because this book left no impression on me. I just remember that it's about maps and that there was a lot of boring things that happened in the middle that I just didn't care about very much. And then we have The Maid. I would put this one in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. The Maid was very fun. It actually won the thriller category on Goodreads, which I was surprised by. But The Maid was just such a fun, cozy kind of thriller time. I thought it was great. The Darkness Outside Us, I think I would put that in I'm Still Here. I thought The Darkness Outside Us was so good. This is like a young adult sci-fi, but I don't think it should be getting marketed as young adult because it reads very adult to me. And then we have Love and Other Disasters. I feel like this is another one that would've, could've, should've been a new favorite, but it wasn't. And then Where They Wait, oh my gosh, this is another would've, could've, should've because this one I was actually really upset because I thought this would be a 5-star read for the first like half of it, and then the ending just got so fucking ridiculous that I was pissed. And then I have Seek You. This one was really interesting. This one's talking about loneliness in America, and it's a nonfiction book that's a graphic novel. I would put this in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. I thought this one was so freaking good and so thoughtful and interesting. And then we have Fangirl Volume 2. This is the Fangirl mangas, and oh my god, this has gotta go, you know, up here. I'm Still Here. I love Fangirl so much, and these mangas just make me so fucking happy. And then we have The People We Keep. I feel like this is more of a me problem. I feel like this is a book that I could have read a number of years ago and I would have loved it, but reading it now, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I just had so many issues with the ending of this book. And then The Damage is another book that I feel like it's me and I'm the problem because similarly to how I felt about Take It Back, I feel like I just don't love stories that deal with sexual violence as like the main subject matter. The Comfort Book by Matt Haig, I remember that I didn't enjoy this one as much, and I was just kind of disappointed. I feel like I've got to put it in Would've, Could've, Should've because I've loved all the other Matt Haig that I've read, especially his nonfiction stuff, but I feel like this book was very like rinse and repeat of his old stuff. And then Heartstopper, this one's Volume 4. I would put Volume 4 in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer because I think Volume 3 was rated higher for me, and then Volume 4 was so emotional and depressing, but like still so beautiful. I love Heartstopper. And then Hex, I'm gonna put this in Would've, Could've, Should've because I feel like Hex had a really interesting premise, but I just was not the biggest fan of the writing in this book and the execution of it all. Comfort Me with Apples, oh my gosh, I feel like this has to go in, you know, I'm Still Here. Comfort Me with Apples was freaking iconic. It's a horror novella and I'm pretty obsessed. And then we have Hide. This one's definitely going in Get It Off My Desk. One of the worst books that I read this year. These Silent Woods. I would put this one in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here too, because this one was really interesting. It's about a dad and a daughter, and they're like living out by themselves in the wilderness. It was just so interesting. It was a book troop pick this year. And then we have The Sweetest Remedy. This is another one that would have, could have, should have been a new favorite, but it wasn't. We have what was this called? The Sorority Murder. This one, I don't remember anything, clearly. I read this back in February, and all I know is that there's a college campus, there's a murder. I don't know. It was so boring. And then I have The Arrangement. I feel like this is more like it's me, I'm the problem. I just don't love this author's writing, and so I don't really get the hype with this author as much as other people seem to love her. Reprieve, I would put this in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here, because I read this book back in January and I still think about it all the time. I feel like this book would be doing a lot better ratings wise if it wasn't mismarketed as much as it is, but this book was fascinating. It was so well written. And then Cursed Bunny, I would also put this in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here. I freaking loved Cursed Bunny. It's one of my favorite short story collections ever, but it's very weird and not for everyone. And then The Pallbearers Club, oh my god, Get It Off My Desk. I don't even want to think about The Pallbearers Club anymore. The Romantic Agenda, I'm gonna put this all the way in my top. That's a real fucking legacy, because The Romantic Agenda features an asexual main character, which is just so fucking iconic to me. Like, that's a real fucking legacy. Like, I've never read anything like it and I'm obsessed. And then we have All Her Little Secrets. This is one that would have, could have, should have been a favorite, but it was just okay for me. I don't really enjoy legal thrillers as much. And then we have The Overnight Guest. I'm gonna put that in the same tier. I feel like this book was just fine for me. I wanted so much more from this story. And then All Roads Lead Here. I would put this in, you know, I'm Still Here. I really enjoyed All Roads Lead Here. It's not like my all-time favorite from Mariana Zapata, but I'm so glad that I've loved another book from her. And then we have Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead. I would put this in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, even though I didn't love this sequel as much as I loved the first book. And then Reckless Girls, I would also put this in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, because even though this book was like a solid 3-star or something for me, I had so much fun reading Reckless Girls. Like, it was definitely a highlight of this year for me. And then we have Sundial. I feel like this is a classic case of would have, could have, should have. Like, this one had so much potential to be a new favorite, but I just thought it was fine. Next up I have And Then I Woke Up. This one is definitely gonna go in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here, because this was so interesting. This one's like a horror novella that's kind of like a take on the zombie apocalypse, and it was so unique, so interesting. I loved it. And then we have Mickey 7, which this one's also gonna go and Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here, because this had such a unique concept. It was one of the only sci-fi books that I read this year, and I just really loved it. And then we have Just Like Home, which I would also put in that same category. This one is a horror book that, you know, apparently the ending was just really divisive. Like, some people loved it, some people hated it, but I personally had a really great time with this one. And then we have Notes on an Execution, with which, like, you know, can we just say it all? That's a real fucking legacy. Like, one of my top favorite books of this year, one of the best written books that I've ever read. This one stays on my mind all year long, and I can already see We Spread is the next book, so say it with me. That's a real fucking legacy. I think, you know, Notes on an Execution and We Spread are like my top 2 books of this year, so like, of course, they've left such an impression on me. Like, that's a real fucking legacy. They're never gonna be forgotten by me. Next up we have Good Rich People, which I'm gonna put this in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, because this shit was so much fun. I thought this book was just so fucking entertaining. I just love rich people murder vibes. It's one of my favorite things in thrillers. And then we have Lease on Love, which I would put this in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here. It's not like exactly a top tier favorite, but Lease on Love was so fucking cute. It still made it into my top 15. It was something that I really enjoyed that I read this year. And then we have Black Girls Must Be Magic. This is a sequel, and I really enjoyed the first book that this author wrote. However, I wasn't the biggest fan of this second one. I want to put this one in Would Have, Could Have, Should Have, because I feel like this book had so much potential because of how much I loved the first book in the series, but then this one just ended up being okay for me. And then I have Just Married, where I kind of feel so similar about all these Kirsten Modglen books, is that it's just, they're fine. They're just not for me, you know? Like, I can see why other people would enjoy them, but they're just kind of like basic thrillers in my opinion. And then we have Every Summer After. I want to put it in Get It Off My Desk, because this was a book that was not only like super disappointing for me this year, but I also just really don't understand the hype with this one. And then I have Petrified Women, which this one's gotta go in one of my top tiers here, but I'm Still Here, because this was so fucking interesting. One of my favorite horror novellas that I've ever read, and it's so freaking short. It's only like 90 pages. And then we have Count Your Lucky Stars, which honestly, I forgot that I even read that this year, but this was so good. I would put this one also in that same tier of I'm Still Here because this book was so good. I love this author's romance books. This is actually the third book in her romance series, and I just love them all so fucking much. All right, and then we have An Honest Lie by Taryn Fisher, and this is, it's gotta be Get It Off My Desk. I'm sorry. This was like one of my least favorite books that I read this year. I considered DNFing this book so many times, and I'm sad that I didn't because I should have. And then I have The Island. I feel like this is another one where it's me and I'm the problem because I can see why so many friends are having so much fun with this book and really loving it. There was just something about this book that I didn't get on board with. Like, I don't know, I couldn't connect with the characters, and I just wasn't as big of a fan as I thought I would be. And then I have Nine Lives. This is gonna be another Get It Off My Desk. This was one of my least favorite books that I've read this year. And then I have The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James, and honestly, like, I know this might be a little harsh, but also like Get It Off My Desk. Like, I just didn't really like this one. And I have The Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. I'm gonna put this one in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here. I really enjoyed this one. This was a booktube pick in the month of June, and I just had so much fun with it. It's kind of like a Frankenstein vibe happening in this book. And then we have One Italian Summer. I feel like this is a would've, could've, should've. Like, it was fine, it was good. I think I gave it 3 to 4 stars, but it wasn't a new favorite for me. Oh my gosh. And then we have Your Storybook Heart, Unlock Your Storybook Heart. I don't know. This one's a poetry collection. Honestly, Get It Off My Desk. This one's a poetry collection that I honestly just hated it. I thought it was so cheesy and so basic, and it sucks because I've loved so many of the poetry collections that this author's come out with before, but this was a major miss for me. And then The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. I feel like this is a classic. Like, I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. I had a lot of fun with The Paris Apartment. It wasn't as good for me as some of this author's other books, but it was still so entertaining, and that freaking plot twist, what the heck. And then I have One of Us Is Dead. This is gonna be another like Get It Off My Desk. I just really didn't like this one this year. This is another one that I considered DNFing so many times. I probably should have. And then I have The Nice House on the Lake, and this is gonna go in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here because this was so freaking fascinating. I just read this graphic novel on Halloween, went in with like 0 expectations, and it was so freaking interesting. And then I have Time Is a Mother by Ocean Vuong. This is another poetry collection. This one's really short. I would put this in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. This book was really interesting, really short. And then I have Insomnia by Sarah Pinborough, which I would also put that in the same category. Insomnia really took me by surprise. It was such an interesting thriller. Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I would put this in the category just above that because Part of Your World was such an incredible romance book. It almost made my top 15 of the year. Like, it was so freaking close. And then we have Book Lovers by Emily Henry, which this one's gotta go in, you know, that's a real fucking legacy because Book Lovers is just so freaking cute. I love Emily Henry's writing so much, and I think this is my favorite book by her. And then we have Mary. Oh my gosh, this is classic would've, could've, should've. I feel like Mary really had so much potential to be a new favorite horror book, but it was just way too goddamn long. Oh my god, there's no reason for this book to be over 400 pages. And this book was just trying to take on way too much, like way too much. And then we have Nightmare Fuel. This is a really cool nonfiction horror book that I read. It's all about horror movies and like how, like, why do horror movies scare us and like all of the things that go into making a horror movie. It was so cool. I'm gonna put that one in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. All right, and then next up I have Stay Awake by Megan Golden. I think I would put that in the same category. This was a really fun thriller that I read this year. It's very comparable to like Memento. And then I have The Bodyguard by Catherine Center, which I think I would also put that in, you know, I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. This was a really fun rom-com. And then I have Things We Do in the Dark by Jennifer Hillier. Honestly, Get It Off My Desk. Like, I did not enjoy this book, and it was so surprising. I really thought this would be a new favorite, but like, no. And then Our Wives Under the Sea. I want to put this one in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here because I just read this book in December, but it was so fucking stunning and one of the best written books that I read from this whole year. Like, the writing is just incredible in the story. And then I have Home Field Advantage. I would say I don't remember very much of this. I just remember being very disappointed in this young adult romance, and it just ended up being not my thing. And then I have Hidden Pictures. I would put this one in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. I had a pretty decent time reading this book. And then we have Jackal, which I want to put this one and Get It Off My Desk as well because this one just had a plot twist at the end of the book that really ruined a lot of this book for me, and that makes me so sad, especially because the beginning of this book was going so well. All right, and then I have Ice Planet Barbarians, which honestly, I am shocked that I kind of want to put this in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer because Ice Planet Barbarians was shockingly just like so much fun, and it was such great escape escapism, and it was just so unique. Like, I've never read a romance book like this before. And then we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I'm definitely putting this in It's Me, I'm the Problem, because this was one of my most disappointing books this year, and I know that everybody else loves this book so freaking much, and I just wish I had loved it as much as everyone else seems to, but I just thought this book was fine. And then I have So Happy For You, which honestly, this one's gotta go in That's a Real Fucking Legacy, because this book was just so iconic. It was so funny, and I know that this book is not gonna be for everyone, because this main character is so, you know, like confrontational and like in your face and really opinionated, but I just thought this story was so entertaining. And then we have, what is this, I think it's called Widow Falls by Kirsten Maudlin. I mean, clearly I don't remember very much. I can't even remember what it's called, but I think I would also put this one in, you know, It's Me, I'm the Problem, because I can see the appeal with thrillers like this, you know, I really can, but I just feel like she takes so many plot twists from other books that I've read before, so I just never find her books that surprising. And then we have My Summer Darlings, which, get it off my freaking desk. What the heck was this book? One of my least favorite thrillers that I read this year. And then we have The Dead Romantics, which this one's gotta go in That's a Real Fucking Legacy, because The Dead Romantics was absolutely iconic, so freaking good, one of the most unique romance books that I've ever read. Like, I just loved it. And then we have All I Want by Darcy Bell, which this one's also get it off my desk. Like, what even is this book? It's a thriller. And then we have The House Across the Lake, which honestly, I'm torn. You know, I kind of want to put it on, I'm torn between putting it in either It's Me, I'm the Problem, or Would've, Could've, Should've, because I feel like this is a book that had potential to be great. I just didn't enjoy it personally. So I feel like I'm gonna put it in It's Me, I'm the Problem, because I don't think this book is necessarily bad. It's just, I predicted something about this book that it kind of like ruined some of the enjoyment for me, and then there was just so many like little pet peeves that I had throughout reading it, but I don't think that it's a bad book, and I can see why other people are liking it. It just wasn't for me. And then I have Aurora, which, oh my god, I don't remember. Like, I just remember being disappointed in this book, but I barely remember anything else about it. And then How to Fake It in Hollywood. This one, I feel like this one should have been a new favorite, but it just wasn't. Like, this book was just missing something, and I just could not connect with the characters in this. And then Such Sharp Teeth, I want to put this one in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. I thought this book was really entertaining. It was so fun. It's about this woman who like turns into a werewolf. It was just so entertaining. And then I have One Night on the Island. I feel like this is another one where I'm the problem, because I feel like this story should have been everything that I love. It's like that forced proximity where two people book the same Airbnb or whatever, and it should have been so cute, but I just couldn't get into it. Like, I could not get invested with these characters. And then I have Wicked Heat, which this is another one, like, I don't even remember that I read that this year. And then we have 1,000 Miles. This is another one that literally left zero freaking impression on me. Like, I just remember that there's a podcast element, there's a road trip, that's it. I don't remember the chemistry. I just remember not really liking them that much. And then Patricia Wants to Cuddle. This is definitely a Would've, Could've, Should've. Like, this book should have been a new favorite, but unfortunately I just thought it was like very mediocre and just fine. And then I have You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. I think I would put this in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, because this book was just so unique, and it had a romance that was so unexpected, and I just ended up really enjoying the story overall. And then I have Look Closer, which honestly I would put that in the same tier, I think. Look Closer was a thriller that really surprised me this year. I thought there were so many fun little twists along the way, and it was just really interesting. And then I have Chef's Kiss, which I would put this one, I think, also in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, because this was a really interesting romance that followed a non-binary chef in the kitchen. It's definitely one of the more memorable kitchen romance books that I read this year, because I did read a few romances that like take place in a kitchen, and this one was definitely my favorite of all of the ones that I read. And then I have The It Girl by Ruth Ware, which, even though I just read this book in September, I want to say I don't remember. Like, it's just not very memorable for me. And then Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. This is get it off my desk. Like, what the fuck is this book? I do not like it. And then I have The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead, and I'm gonna put this in It's Me, I'm the Problem, because once again, this is a story that really centers on violence against women, and it was not easy for me to read, and it really like ruined a lot of the enjoyment that I felt like I should have been having when reading this book. And then I have Sign Here. Oh my gosh, I want to put this one in I'm torn between putting it in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here, and I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, because I feel like Sign Here was so fun. It was so unique. It just wasn't quite up there, because there were some things that I didn't like about this one, but overall I had such a fun time with Sign Here. I think I feel comfortable putting it in this tier here. And then I have I'm Glad My Mom Died, which this one is gonna have to go in Ask Me Why So Many Fade But I'm Still Here, because I feel like this is gonna go down as like one of the most memorable memoirs, and I feel like Jeanette McCurdy is just such an incredible writer, and the way that she's so vulnerable in this memoir is just really incredible, and I love that so much. And then I have Firstborn by Will Dean. Honestly, get it off my desk. I just didn't really enjoy this one at all. And then I have The Marsh Queen. I would say It's Me, I'm the Problem, because I think I ended up giving this one 3 stars, but this kind of story is just not something I'm super interested in. It's very comparable to like Where the Crawdads Sing. And then we have The Great Gatsby, which this one is, I mean, The Great Gatsby was fine. I feel like would've, could've, should've, like maybe it could have been a new favorite, but it just like wasn't really my kind of storyline. Like, I don't know. I have Upgrade by Blake Crouch next, which this one, I'm gonna put this in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. I had so much fun with Upgrade. I thought it was so unique. And then I have Old Country. This is gonna definitely go in Would've, Could've, Should've. I feel like Old Country had a really interesting premise, but it just wasn't my favorite, you know? Like, there was definitely a lot of issues that I had with this book as well. And then Love on the Brain, oh my gosh, get it off my desk. This book was so annoying. And then this is the new, God, it's Matthew Perry memoir. I can't even remember what it's called. Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing. I'm gonna put this one in It's Me, I'm the Problem, because I guess I could see what other people are getting out of this book. I just did not really enjoy it myself. And then we have The Family Game by Catherine Stedman. I think I want to put this one in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. I thought The Family Game was so much fun. And then A Cosmic Kind of Love. I want to put this one in I'm the Problem, because I can see why other people are really enjoying this one as well. I just feel like this romance ended up being so much heavier than I wanted it to be. Like, I was just looking for a cute and fun time when I read it, and I was like, whoa, this is like really dark and really heavy. And just not exactly what I was thinking it would be, you know? And then Mistakes Were Made is another romance that I feel very similarly about. I feel like maybe I'm the problem. Like, I can see why other people are liking this, but I just had some issues that made me uncomfortable when I was reading this romance. And then Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. I'm gonna put this in That's a Real Fucking Legacy, because Daisy Darker is iconic. Daisy Darker is probably my favorite thriller that I read this year, and I'm just so glad that I read it, and it's like an Agatha Christie retelling. Oh my god, it's so much fun. And then we have Love in the Time of Serial Killers. I feel like I've got to put this one in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. I went so back and forth while I was reading this book. Like, one minute I was loving it, the next minute I was hating it. Like, I experienced the full range of emotions, but overall I have mostly positive feelings about this one. And then I have Mad Honey. This is one that I just read very recently. I feel like this one, I want to put it in Would've, Could've, Should've, because there are some things that I loved about this book, and then there were some things that I didn't really love. I've started to notice about myself that I don't love books that mostly take place in the courtroom. Like, I just feel like I need a little bit more than that. And then Daphne by Josh Malerman. I'm also gonna put this one in That's a Real Fucking Legacy. I have to. Daphne was just so good. It was so memorable. It's one of my favorite horror books that I've read this year. And then we have Wrong Place, Wrong Time. I feel like this is another Would've, Could've, Should've. I feel like there were some things that I really loved about this book, and some things I was just so bored by. And then Do You Take This Man, I thought was just so mediocre. I want to put it in Would've, Could've, Should've, because I feel like this book had so much potential to be great, because it's kind of this like enemies to lovers situation. It takes place, it revolves around weddings. Like, there was so much about this book that I could have loved. And then Suburban Hell. This one, I want to say It's Me and I'm the Problem, because I went into this book just expecting like a fun time, and I didn't really realize it was going to revolve around like one of the friends getting possessed and like exorcisms and stuff, because I just don't really care to read about exorcisms, and I feel like if I had known that's what it was going to be about, I probably wouldn't have read it in the first place. And then I have We Can Never Leave This Place. I want to say Would've, Could've, Should've for this one, because this was a little bit more horror fantasy than I was anticipating, and I just don't know if this is my kind of horror. And then You're Invited, I want to put this one in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, because You're Invited was really surprising. The second half of this book just went in a direction that was so shocking. And then Keep It in the Family by John Mars. I feel like this is another one that's like Would've, Could've, Should've. I thought this book was fine. All right, and then I have Below. I think I would put this one as well in Would've, Could've, Should've, because I feel like this book for me was really good. Like, the writing was really well done. It was just a little bit like it was missing something for me. It wasn't quite up there with this other tier for me. And then Runtime, I actually really enjoyed Runtime. I would put this one in I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, because I thought Runtime was really entertaining. Killers of a Certain Age is I think it was more like It's Me, I'm the Problem, because I don't usually love thrillers that follow like assassins in the first place, but I thought this book book was okay. It was fine. And then Kiss Her Once for me, oh my gosh, this one's gotta go in That's a Real Fucking Legacy, right? Because Kiss Her Once for me is one of my top favorite romances that I read this year. Like, it might be my favorite romance that I've read this year. And it was just so freaking cute. I love the fact that they're both Taylor Swift fans, and I love that the main character is demisexual and bisexual. And then It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I want to put this one in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here, because this one was so freaking beautiful. It was the sequel to It Ends With Us, and I feel like this one just really lived up to that first book for me. I love these characters so much. It just made my heart hurt. And then we have Carrie Soto Is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I want to put this one in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, because this was one that I didn't even know if I wanted to read, because I don't think I really care that much about tennis. I just loved how well this book was written. I thought the tennis was actually so interesting and so engaging, and I also really loved the characters in this book. And then I have The Housemaid, which I think I would put this on that same tier. The Housemaid was a thriller that at first I wasn't really sure if I was feeling it, but by the end I was like, bitch, what? And then we have You've Lost a Lot of Blood, which I would also put on that same tier. I thought You've Lost a Lot of Blood was really good. It's by Eric LaRocca, you know, it's super, super weird horror, but like kind of right up my alley, you know, I just really enjoyed it. And then we have A Dash of Salt and Pepper, which this is one that I just thought was fine. I feel like I need to put it in Would've, Could've, Should've, because I feel like I should have loved this one more than I did. It was like a solid 3-star romance for me. And then I have White Horse, which this is another one that, again, I was pretty disappointed by it, but I feel like it could have been a new favorite, but it just wasn't. And then we have The Butcher and the Wren, which sadly, this is kind of like a get it off my desk. I just wasn't a huge fan of this one. It was very disappointing for me. And then The Exorcist House, oh my gosh, this is another one, get it off my desk. This was so disappointing. One of my least favorite books that I read this year. Like, what the fuck is this book? And then we have All the Dangerous Things, which this one's actually a 2023 release. This one was actually super surprising for me. I think I'm gonna put this one in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, because this was such an interesting thriller. And then we have They Were Here Before Us by Eric LaRocca. This is another one that I really loved by Eric LaRocca. I think I want to put it in I Could Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer. Eric LaRocca just has this way with words in horror books. It's truly incredible and so good. And then Ghost 19, I would put this in I Could Still Say I Don't Remember. I just read this one fairly recently and I have little to no memory about it. Like, it was so forgettable for me. And then Anti-Romance, this is a manga that I was so excited about and it ended up being so disappointing for me. I want to put this one in Would've, Could've, Should've, because I feel like I should have loved this and I just didn't. And then Death Note, oh my gosh, I gotta put Death Note pretty high. This is only volume 1. I want to put this in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here, because Death Note, oh my god, I finally get the hype. I think it's so iconic, so good, so unique. If you're at all into like thrillers or horror, then I think you need to read Death Note immediately. Like, it's one of the best mangas that I've ever read. It's just so good. All right, so that is the final look. You know, as promised, I only have 15 books in this top tier category right here. That's a real fucking legacy. I have quite a bit in Ask Me Why So Many Fade, but I'm Still Here, and I Can Still Make the Whole Place Shimmer, which is good because I feel like that's a good representation of all of the books that I really enjoyed this year, you know, and I feel like that's really great that I had so many that I enjoyed. And then I did have so many that I felt like had a lot of potential, but just didn't quite live up to that potential for me. And then so many books that I picked up where, you know, I kind of realized like other people might really love these books and I can recognize why, but they just weren't really for me. And then there were quite a few books that I just totally forgot about that I even read this year that left little to no impression on me. And then Get It Off My Desk, these were all of my, you know, least favorite, most disappointing, worst books that I read this year. You know, it happens, but overall, I'm really happy with the reading year that I had this year. Please let me know, what did you think of any of the books that I read this year? Did you agree or disagree with any of the rankings, like any of how I ranked them? Let me know. Also, let me know how many books were you able to read in the year of 2022 and how was this reading year for you compared to previous years? Like, did you enjoy more of the books that you read this year? If you have missed it, I have recently posted my best books of the year, worst books, most disappointing, most surprising. I'll have all of my end of the year videos linked down below. I also will have most recently posted my stats video. So if you're curious to know some of my stats for the year, like how many thrillers, how many horrors I read, you know, whether I was reading new authors or authors that I've read before, all kinds of fun stats. I'll link my most recent video down below so you can go and check that out. Thank you so much for watching in the year of 2022. This is going to be my final 2022 video where I talk about 2022 books. So thank you so much for watching throughout the year. I really appreciate it. And here's to 2023. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.